Hi, my name is Beth Gill, and I'm the director of the Nursing Assistant Program at Olympic College. I want to thank you for your interest in our program and for joining me today. At today's information session, I'm going to let you know about how our calendars for our Bremerton and Shelton programs work. I'm going to talk to you about the courses in our program and how those are going to work in an online format for our spring quarter. I'm also going to tell you about some resources for student success as well as resources for paying for our program. I'll let you know about the required textbooks and supplies and uniforms that you'll need for our different courses, as well as how to get started and get registered for the classes in our program. I'll also tell you a bit about what to do about getting registered at the state to begin working and for taking your state exam after we're all complete. So please sit back, write down any questions you might have. Join me at the online information session to go over anything that you might want to know. There'll be plenty of time for questions and answers, and I look forward to having you as a student in our class. So thank you again for your time. That's still with me is here because you mean to be at the Nursing Assistant Information Session for Spring Quarter 2020. If you're here to find out about our summer program, I can send you that information, but the majority of the information I'm going to speak about today is specific to our online Spring 2020 program. Since I'm an educator as well as a nurse, I have to start out with a little bit of teaching. So let me ask you, what is a nursing assistant? Well, hopefully you looked at the title there and you said, well, of course, it's someone who assists a nurse. And of course, you are correct. A nursing assistant also assists their patients or clients or residents, and we call them different things depending on where we are caring for them. You perform your duties under the direction and supervision of a licensed nurse, whether that be a registered nurse, an RN, or a licensed practical nurse, an LPN. And you can work in a variety of settings. You can work in acute care, which is hospital setting. You can work in skilled nursing, which might be a subacute place like a rehab facility or a nursing home. You might find yourself working in assisted living, which is an apartment living with nursing care. You may choose to work in an adult family home, which has up to 6 residents, and the nursing assistant performs other duties besides just the nursing care. They might help with housekeeping, feeding their residents, making meals, and other sorts of things. Or you might find yourself working in home care, where maybe you're taking your client out to a Rainiers game, when we can go back to a Rainiers game, to the grocery store, or to their medical appointments, as well as helping them with their activities of daily living where they live in their house. So essentially, as a nursing assistant, the field is wide open and flexible. You can choose where you want to work, and I'll tell you, the employers are lining up waiting for you. So let me tell you a little bit about our spring program. So you're entering our program at a very interesting time. I am sure that you've been keeping up on all of the news related to the coronavirus, and you know that we are now offering our program in an online format starting spring quarter. We will start classes the week of April 13th, which has pushed our quarter off a week beyond where it was supposed to start in the first place. And I hope that you've had an opportunity to print or look at the calendars that were available on our website for a detailed schedule. I'm going to talk about those more at our question and answer session when you join me online, but I'll tell you just briefly kind of how those work. So if you have that in front of you, you'll notice that there's a pretty significant difference between our Bremerton and our Shelton calendars. In Shelton, it's a little bit simpler, where we'll have class NA 105, our lecture course, if you will, on Mondays and Wednesdays from 8:30 in the morning till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll notice the time on these calendars is in military or 24-hour clock format because we do use military time in the healthcare profession. In our Bremerton program, the NA 105 class is highlighted in blue, and anyone in our Bremerton program will be there in class for all of those times together. We'll be utilizing 2 different online tools, Zoom, which hopefully you're a little bit familiar with already, or you will be by the time we finish our online information and question and answer session, because we'll be using the same one for that. And we're also using Canvas, which is an online learning platform. In the Canvas course, we list all of your assignments, where you'll submit your assignments through Canvas. We post announcements and communicate with you largely through those announcements in Canvas, and we also put your grades into the Canvas course. The other thing you'll notice the difference between the two calendars is that in Shelton, the NA 115 or the lab course is on for the first 5 weeks of the program Tuesdays from 8:30 to about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. In Bremerton, you actually have the option of a Tuesday-Thursday afternoon lab course, which would keep you in class for until 6 p.m. on those days, or a Wednesday-Friday morning course that would be from 8:30 till 11:30 each of those days. Those differences are highlighted in yellow for the first lab, the Tuesday-Thursday lab, and pink for the second lab. Now, because of the social distancing restrictions that are underway right now, the first 5 weeks of the program will be totally online for all of NA 105 and half of NA 115. The remainder of the NA 115 class will happen when we're able to return to campus using social distancing rules, but outside of the stay at home, stay healthy order, and complete our hands-on, face-to-face format of our lab class. If you look at the second page on both of those calendars, what you'll notice is that there will be 5 days, depending on what lab you're in, depends on what day it is, back in our lab on campus to complete the hands-on portion. I'll talk a little bit about how that goes when I get to that course in this program. Please note that the dates that we have here are arranged and they're only on this calendar on these dates as a placeholder for the time being. They may be subject to moving depending on when we are allowed to come back to campus and when the lab is available here on campus. The next course that is on your calendars is the NA 120 course, and that's our practicum course where we'll go to the facilities to complete our actual hands-on care of the residents in the facilities. So again, that will be hopefully the dates that we have on the calendar, but depending on social distancing rules and when it is safe to do so, we will go to the clinical setting and complete our hours there. There is a possibility that the number of hours may be reduced. Currently, we have 64 hours in the facility as a part of our program, but we might reduce that down to have more hours in the lab versus at the facility. Again, I'll go into more detail on this during our question and answer session online through Zoom. So our NA 105 course is I say it's the meat and potatoes of our program. It's where we go over all of the overview of the nursing assistant program and what the requirements are for you in order to complete the courses and to successfully obtain your certification at the state. We cover what the role is as a nursing assistant, orient you to your role as a member of the healthcare team. We cover HIV, AIDS, and bloodborne pathogens training that is required for all healthcare providers in Washington State. We talk about all of the body systems and their structure and function. We talk about them as far as how they relate to the elderly and aging-related changes and things that you as a nursing assistant will need to look for to keep your clients healthy or to improve their health if they are having some disorders. We'll cover basic principles of nutrition, as well as dementia care, mental health care, and end-of-life care. As often as we can, we try to have guest speakers join us in the classroom, and they will be joining us online in the classroom this quarter as well. As I mentioned, the Nursing Assistant Lab course, NA 115, will be split up into 2 parts. The first half of the course will be covered in the first 5 weeks of the quarter, where your faculty will instruct you on all of the different skills that you'll need to know in order to take care of your clients. You'll cover medical terminology and especially utilize it in documentation and practicing that in our courses. We'll cover all of the 22 skills that are required for becoming a certified nursing assistant, the ones that you need to be able to perform at the state exam when that time comes. Included in this course also is BLS for healthcare provider, where you'll get your CPR card as a professional. That will be one of the things that happens during the last 5 days that we're back on campus for the hands-on portion of our class. So we'll expect that you are either practicing these skills on your own in your home. We'll probably give you some online time in groups to show each other what you can do as far as some of them go, like practicing dressing whoever your client in your house might be that day and demonstrating that back to your classmates. But when we come back to the lab, your instructors will be responsible for ensuring that you are doing the steps correctly according to the state way, which we'll talk about, as well as practicing those on each other and checking you off so that you're ready to go to the practicum course at the facilities. That means when you come back to campus, you'll be doing all of these skills on each other. You'll be brushing each other's teeth, washing each other's feet. You'll be feeding each other yummy fruit cocktail. If social distancing rules are still important, we have a number of mannequins that we'll be able to use in our lab area so that we can sanitize them well in between clients or students, and so that you can maintain that safety and social distancing that's necessary to keep us all safe and healthy from the COVID-19 virus. Once we've completed our nursing assistant lab, we're going to be ready to hit the road and go to the clinical facilities to complete our practicum course. So as I mentioned, typically we do 64 hours of clinical in the facility. Due to the COVID-19, we might decrease those hours to the minimum required by the state at the facility, but complete the remainder of the hours in the lab. That's something that we are still working on, and it again will depend on the social distancing requirements and the safety and health of everyone in the program. At the end of the program, you'll notice on week 9 and maybe 10, depending on whether you're in Shelton or Bremerton, that we come back to the lab for 2 8-hour shifts. We complete an employer panel and mock interviews where we invite employers from the community to come and let you ask them questions about employment, as well as interview you to give you practice. Now, a lot of those mock interviews turn into real job offers. As I mentioned, you are highly desired as employees in the community, and our area agencies that we work with are very excited to have you come on board with them. The last thing you'll notice on your calendar is that we have final skills testing for the last part of our NA 120 course. All of the students in the program will demonstrate in a mock state test sort of situation their testing, their skills, their competencies with me, the director of the nursing assistant program. This ensures that you have what it takes, that we put our stamp of approval on you, and that you are ready and raring to go to take your state exam and become a certified nursing assistant. Olympic College has a number of resources to help with our students' success. One of them is integrated right into our nursing assistant program in the IBEST, or Integrated Basic Education and Skills Training model of team teaching. In your class, you will not only have a nursing assistant instructor who is a registered nurse and a subject matter expert as far as the nursing content goes, but you will also have a basic studies instructor who is a subject matter expert on things like helping you write your essays or using the technology we'll be utilizing in our course, or doing the math that you need to do in order to work as a nursing assistant, or writing your resumes and cover letters. You will find their help invaluable. And as I said, they'll both be in the classroom with you, so it'll be 2 for the price of 1. Even when we're not teaching an online course, we use technology in our courses. We use Canvas, as I mentioned, and we're also using Zoom. So if you've never used Canvas as a student, there is a free Orientation to Canvas for Students course that you can enroll in at the college. It's General Studies 097. In addition, there are a number of loaner laptops available through Information Technology. Their phone number is listed here. We also have a number of computer labs available on all campuses, and depending on the restrictions related to social distancing, the hope is that we will be able to open those computer labs up with proper disinfection and social distancing so that students who need that environment, maybe don't have the correct computing at home, will be able to come to campus and get the help they need here, as well as having those techs available in the computer lab for problems you might be having. If you've ever had or needed an accommodation for your education, we would encourage you to contact Access Services to supply them with the documentation that will allow you to have accommodations in our class. We've had a number of students in the past that have had things like extended testing time, a quiet test environment, that we're able to have computerized readers for them, that we're able to record the audio or the lectures that are being given to listen to later, or that have had some physical items that were needed to be taken care of in our lab course. For instance, we had a person who was not able to feel pulses with their fingertips because of some nerve damage. So their accommodation was to be able to listen to a pulse with their to the heart rate to get their pulse with a stethoscope instead. We've also had students that have had some hearing deficit that Access Services was able to provide an amplified stethoscope for them to take blood pressures. We cannot accommodate any special needs or requests in our classroom or testing situation unless a student has gone through the Access Services route. So please contact them sooner rather than later. We want you to have all of the services that will help with your success in the classroom. We also have an English to Speakers of Other Languages department at our college. I've given you the contact information here for our Bremerton office, but we do have support in our Shelton campus as well. If you think that you might need some more assistance with speaking the English language or reading the English language prior to joining our course, the Basic Studies folks that teach in this program would be able to help you with that. So as far as paying for the program, there are a number of programs available at Olympic College to help with funding. I've given you a list of them here. At this time, the Work First program and the Worker Retraining program, their grants at the college have not gotten additional money in order to cover students for our spring quarter. However, the BFET program is available there. BFET is Basic Food and Education and Training. And it is for folks that are receiving SNAP benefits or that qualify for SNAP benefits even if you're not receiving them. So I would encourage you to check out that program. We have the Opportunity Grant at the college. They have a number of grants available to nursing assistant students this quarter, and so I would encourage you to contact them as well. There is an online application for that grant, and they do need to have applications this week. The week of April 1st. The military and veterans programs will cover for veterans and military spouses and family members, or those that are getting ready to exit the military. So I would encourage you to contact their information, their contact numbers there as well. If you need to pay out of pocket because none of these programs would cover you, there is the ability to make a tuition payment plan through the college. There is information online about that, but I've given you the contact information for our cashier's office. If you are paying out of pocket, make sure you save your receipts to take advantage of the Nursing Assistant Reimbursement Program. It is a program that is mandated by the federal government that the first facility that hires you as a nursing assistant has to reimburse you for your education related expenses, and I'll go over those in a minute, once you're hired and once you've passed your state exam. So I would encourage you to save every receipt if you're paying out of pocket for anything. The last thing I have on here is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and it is actually accessed through WorkSource of Kitsap or Mason County, or your home county, wherever that is, if it's not Kitsap or Mason. So I've included the information for our those two offices, and I would encourage you to contact them directly. In addition, WorkSource also runs Worker Retraining program, and they may still and probably do still have some grant money available that would help you out. In addition, the federal stimulus package that has just been approved or is being approved is going to include some information or some money to help those that have recently gone filed for unemployment to help you get employed again. And so again, I would encourage you to go to your WorkSource office and contact them with information through the email and the phone number I've given you here. So I've given you the information here about what educational expenses are considered to be reimbursable. That includes tuition and fees and the supplies that are required for the program, but only the required, not any optional. The safety documentation, that includes your liability and malpractice insurance that's purchased through the OC cashier, as well as personal health insurance if you don't have that of your own. There is a 1 quarter or quarter only student injury only plan available through forstudenthealth.com, and I've given you the website here. And then the cost for the nursing assistant state examination after successful completion of the program is $124, and I've listed that as well. So all told, the educational expenses for our program are about $1,850 or so. We have 2 textbooks that we require for our program. The first one is the 5th edition of the Lippincott textbook for nursing assistants. If you were to purchase it new, it would cost $77 at the Olympic College Barnes & Noble bookstore, and you will need it for readings on the first day of class. The bookstore is able to mail with, I believe shipping is free to your home if that's where you get your book. You're not required to buy it through our bookstore. You can buy it from any online retailer like Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com or anywhere you can find it. Although the bookstore may have some used or rentable versions available as well. You'll also notice that there's an ebook version available for that textbook if you prefer to use an e-reader. The other textbook we require is the BLS for Life Support by American Heart Association. It costs under $20 new at the bookstore as well. You're probably not going to find that one used, but you might find it somewhere on the web a little different price, or about the same probably. You will not need that until we come back to campus week 6, but we will use it that first day of week 6. We have 2 other textbooks we like to mention and recommend, but they are optional, so they would not be covered by any of the funding sources, most likely. There's a workbook that accompanies the Lippincott textbook that we use. We do not use this workbook in class, but a number of our students have told us that they recommend it as a study tool. We do post the answers to the workbook online through your Canvas course, so you will be able to check your work. We also recommend this dictionary. It's the Longman's Handy Learner's Dictionary of American English. You can use that on any of our exams in class as well as the state exam. And it doesn't matter whether you use the Handy Learners version or the larger version. The difference is the price and the size of the book, but it doesn't matter what edition you use for that either. Other items we need when we come back to the lab, week 6 or whenever that is, you'll need to have burgundy colored uniform, top and bottom. Most of our students get it through our bookstore or at Walmart actually has the same wine color, I think they call it, but they have a pretty decent uniform available there. Before we go to clinical practicum, you will need white shoes or mostly white shoes, and they don't have to be nursing shoes. They can be tennis shoes. Let's say they were a pair of white Nikes with a blue swoosh, that would be fine. We'd allow that. You'll need a stethoscope to practice blood pressures. You'll need a watch with a second hand to practice pulse and respirations, and to time the amount of time it takes to wash your hands. I'm sure you guys are all doing 20 seconds now. And then you'll also need a gait belt or transfer belt, and you'll need that when we go to the facility. I would recommend possibly waiting on that purchase unless it's being covered by funding, because there may be some restrictions on whether you can bring your own materials into the facility to use on clients or whether you'd even want to. If you do have a gait belt that you bring into the facility, we would recommend you washing it between the days that you are there. Most likely there's going to be restrictions on using your own gait belt or equipment in the facility. So how do you get started? Well, if you go to the Olympic College website, and I'll take you there during our Zoom meeting to show you exactly where, you'll be able to apply online and register for classes. So I've listed the classes that you'll need here. the item numbers for them. So remember, in Bremerton, you'll only register for one item number for the NA 115 course, either the Tuesday, Thursday, or the Wednesday, Friday option. Nursing Assistant 120 is an arranged course, so just know that that could change based on your faculty schedule and the facility availability. I do my best to match you with the correct place for those of you that are in Bremerton. So for instance, if you live in Gig Harbor, I try not to put you in clinical up in Poulsbo, and vice versa. If you live in Poulsbo, I try not to put you in clinical down in Port Orchard. In Shelton, there are the 3 courses and their item numbers. Again, that's an arranged course as far as the practicum goes. And I'm not exactly sure where we're going to go for our practicum in spring quarter. That'll depend on which facilities are willing to have us and who has the equipment needed for us to practice our care clients safely in their facilities. We have a number of requirements that are in place before you can go to clinical that are related to health and safety. You should have found a clinical passport document on our webpage that helps you. It's a checklist that helps you gather your documentation, but it is not the documentation you will submit. You'll be put into another Canvas course that is just for putting your documentation and then submitting it through the online system. So again, the clinical passport is just a checklist in helping you to gather your documentation. If we are on time to go to clinical when we suspect we will be, all of your requirements must be done and submitted in Canvas by May 12th. That's a Tuesday, and that's for both the Bremerton and Shelton programs. There will be directions in Canvas for how to upload your documentation prior to the start of the quarter. We'll get that in, all of you enrolled in that course, and that information will be available to you next week. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the TB testing. First, I'm going to have you tell me if you're new to having TB testing or if you have been TB tested before. So if you've never had a TB test in the past, or it's been more than 12 months since you've had your TB test, you're going to be treated as if you've never had one. You're going to be required to have 2 skin tests. Those are called PPDs often, but TB skin tests, and that equals 4 visits to the provider. The pictures you see here on the top is them placing the PPD, and the bottom is the measuring or reading the PPD results. So what you'll turn into Canvas are 2 results in order to show that you are negative and safe to go to clinical. The other option is to have a blood draw, which is called a TB IGRA, and this blood draw shows that you are absent of disease. Now, that's the method that I choose because my insurance will cover it, and it means I only have 1 visit to the healthcare provider instead of 4 visits. If you are employed or you become employed as a nursing assistant registered at a facility, likely they will place and complete your TB testing for you. Now, if you have had a negative test in the last 12 months, you just need to have an up-to-date TB test that will be in place through our last day of clinical. And so that's 1 TB test or 2 visits to the provider instead of 4. Or you can also choose to do the TB IGRA test to show absence of disease. If you've ever had a positive test, you'll need to follow up with a healthcare provider on an annual basis. And if your new TB test is positive, you'll also be required to follow up with a healthcare provider. Often they will order a chest x-ray, and then they'll check you for symptoms of tuberculosis. Make recommendation based on whether you are at high risk for going into active TB. They might give you medications to take for several months. So if you have a history of positive tests, proof of absence of disease is what we're looking for you to upload. If you have to have any live vaccines later, you'll need to have them after you've completed your TB testing. If you have live vaccines before TB testing, it could produce a false positive result. Immunizations that you need include hepatitis B vaccinations, measles, mumps, and rubella, varicella, which is chickenpox, and tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis. So for all of these, what we're looking for is documentation that you've had the required number of vaccines, and you can check the number of those on your clinical passport form. For hepatitis B, however, you also have to show proof of immunity by titer, which is a blood draw to show if you have a positive antibody response and are immune. Hepatitis B actually is one of the vaccines that you could actually decline should you desire to do so. However, we recommend that all healthcare providers have their hepatitis B vaccination because it is something that is bloodborne and can be contracted or transmitted in the healthcare occupational setting. The one vaccine that you do not see listed on here that is on your sheet is the flu vaccine, and that is because it is not required for spring or summer quarter clinicals because we're technically outside of flu season then. The safety information that we'll need is you'll have instructions to complete an authorization for a background check. Prior to having access to vulnerable adults, you'll need to prove that you are safe to do so. So instructions will be given online in Canvas to show you how to do that, and there will be no charge to you. If you have any questions or concerns about any past convictions that might prevent you from working in a healthcare facility, you can check the DSHS Secretary's list of crimes and negative actions. Let me just warn you though that even if it's not on this list, all convictions will show up on your background check and will require the facilities to do what's called a suitability review before they can let you come in to have access to their vulnerable adults. You'll need to provide a copy of a current photo ID. I have here on the second day of class, we're going to just have you upload that online as well. And then once we've completed your BLS for Healthcare Providers course, your instructors will email you a card to your OC email address or the ability to claim your card to your OC email address, and you'll upload that PDF of your card into Canvas as well. In your NA 105 class, you will complete HIPAA training and you will sign a form to say that you will abide by HIPAA regulations which relate to confidentiality and privacy. You'll also need to, as I mentioned earlier, purchase malpractice and liability insurance at the cashier's office, and then you'll upload that receipt to our website, to Canvas. And then you'll also need to show proof of personal health insurance. And the reason you need personal health insurance is because when we're in the facility, you're not actually on the job, so you're not covered by Labor and Industries workers' compensation. So if something were to happen to you while we were at the facility, we'd need to know that you were covered if we had to send you out in an emergency situation. And again, the website here, forstudенthealth.com, is where you can purchase the injury-only student plans through the Washington State Community Colleges. That student plan needs to be purchased 30 days ahead of the day you're going to utilize it. So April 28th is what I have on here is in order to be in time for practicum. But for our Shelton program, you actually will need to purchase that by April 26th. So you can get your immunizations done at a number of places, including your personal medical provider. The health department, I'm not sure what they're doing right now. I know that they in Kitsap County had closed their front desk, so I'm not sure what they're doing as far as testing and immunizations, but typically they do immunizations and TB testing on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which will be our class days. So we ask you to arrange that time. If you're going to have it done on Tuesday and Thursday, you try to get it done sooner rather than later. Your military medical offices, a lot of drugstores and pharmacies offer immunizations as well. And again, waivers or declination forms are only accepted for hepatitis B or flu, but flu isn't needed. If you don't know where your immunizations are, don't have any records, you might find them at the website I have here for, it's through the Washington State Department of Health, and it's wa.myir, and that stands for myimmunizationrecord.net. You can set up an account where you can view your immunizations that are on record in Washington State, as well as those of your families. So when you've completed the first week and a half of our program, you'll actually be eligible to start working and become a nursing assistant registered. So it says as early as week 3, but we'll actually be finished with the materials needed in order to start by the end of week 2. Because of the COVID-19 situation and the social distancing rules, we are not required to complete CPR prior to becoming an NAR. You actually will have some emergency and safety information that is given in your classes, and we will complete the HIV/AIDS training as required. So the NAR costs $85 and is purchased through an online format by the Department of Health. I'll have instructions for that in your lab course, the NA115 course, and a link to complete that process. The state is looking at waiving that fee in order to get more healthcare workers into the field sooner rather than later, but it has not been officially waived as of today, March 31st. So the other is that you'll be eligible once you finish the course to become a nursing assistant certified or to take the state exam. So currently Washington State and actually all of the federal government regulations say that you have 4 months from the date of hire in a skilled nursing facility in order to take and pass your state exam to remain employed. Now there is another waiver in process to waive that 4-month rule so that because at this time testing has been stopped for all of Washington State and we aren't able to complete that maybe within 4 months of hire. And the desire is to get as many healthcare providers into the field as NARs as we can and to remove that barrier from you staying working if social distancing and the COVID-19 situation require a longer time before testing can happen. So when you complete the program, you'll receive a certificate of completion that says you've completed all of the training required by the DSHS and Department of Health. You'll be able to register to take the state exam, and the cost of that exam is $124. Again, testing is currently stopped for the nursing assistant programs in Washington State, and I'll let you know as soon as I do when that resumes. You'll be eligible to receive an Olympic College Certificate of Recognition. You'll be able to apply to become a nursing assistant certified once you've passed your state exam, and you'll also receive a factor point toward getting into the LPN program at Olympic College. In addition to that, there are 2 courses in the LPN program that nursing assistants who are certified are able to challenge or test out of and save yourself some tuition money once you're in the program as well. Okay, we've gotten to the last slide. I have finished telling you everything I can for right now, and I look forward to meeting all of you in our Zoom room at our information session either on April 1st or April 7th to talk about the spring 2020 quarter. If you're interested in summer or fall even, I'll have additional sessions online in a couple of weeks to talk about those quarters. But I look forward to meeting all of you. If you have specific questions right now, go ahead and email me. That's probably the easiest way to contact me since I'm working remotely some of the time. My phone number is here, and I do get those voicemails, but email is probably the quickest way to get information. And then you can go to our webpage where you probably found this and find out some more information there. So thank you for sticking with me. I look forward to meeting you, and I hope you are having a great day.